Welcome to the Broad Street Fanatics uh, podcast. We are here with our guest Josh Neighbors, and we are very excited to get his opinion on this past Nationals Phillies series. And we will have some questions for him, and uh, and let's go. So, my questions are okay. So my first question is, what are your overall takes on this past series against the Phillies and Nationals?
Yeah, it was an interesting series for sure. I thought the Nationals offense was pretty bad. That was my one big takeaway. I mean, if you look at it, the Nationals should have won 2 or 3 games. They had the lead late in the last game, the second to last game, excuse me, and then Brad Hand really struggled. And, I mean, cost them, put it in extra innings. And they lost. Credit to the Phillies offense, but they paid Brad Hand a lot of money to come in and be the closer in DC, and that's 3 games in the last 5-6 days that he's blown. He blew a save on Saturday. On Sunday, he took a loss and gave up runs and cost the Nats a game against the Yankees. And then he blew a save on Wednesday, whatever day it was. So, it's been a difficult week. And the Nationals, trying to find that offense in those games where they got a 2-1 lead, they got to make it stick. They got to make sure they keep that lead because right now for them, their offense is just not consistent enough. So my takeaway was the Nationals should have won 2 or 3, but didn't. And the Phillies, credit them for being very opportunistic.
Yeah, my question is, what are your thoughts on the pitching performance throughout the series from the pitchers?
I mean, the Phillies pitchers, I thought were, Zach Wheeler's been really good. And I think a change of scenery for him was great. I didn't love the amount of money the Phillies paid him, but I actually think for what they paid, they've got a pretty good deal. I mean, that deal they're paying him, they paid Zach Wheeler for the pitcher that he can be and that he is right now, not the guy he was. And luckily for them, he ended up being that guy, and he's been excellent. Zach Eflin walked people, which is not normal. He didn't usually walk people, and he walked a decent amount of guys. I think their bullpen can be had. They love to use Alvarado, and he is not under control. I mean, he walked the bases loaded essentially in the Tuesday night game, and the Nats couldn't take advantage of it because Josh Bell's in a big slump. But I mean, I think it was 2 outs and he walked the bases loaded. Yeah. So it's the pitching for the Phillies. I mean, I forgot who started the first game. I'm trying to think. Wheeler went Wednesday. Eflin went Thursday. Who went in the first game for the Phillies? I'm trying to remember.
Noah?
No, it was not Aaron Nola. I'm trying to remember. I'm forgetting who it was. Oh, Chase Anderson did. He actually looked pretty sharp. He looked pretty sharp. The Nationals just were. I mean, he really settled in there, and he did a good job. But the Nationals offense, it's not hard to look pretty good against them with the way they're going right now.
Yeah. My question is, how do you think the Phillies are a postseason contender? And if so, how far do you think they're going to get in the playoffs?
Well, I think they'll be contending for a playoff spot. I don't think here's the deal. If you make the playoffs, you're dangerous, right? I mean, if you make the playoffs, kind of bottom line is you got a shot. All you got to do is make the dance. And the thing about baseball is making the playoffs in baseball is the hardest professional sport to get the playoffs in. That is by I mean, the NBA has 16 teams and now it's damn near 20, right? With the playing games. NFL now has 14. If you add in the extra wild card, I believe it's 14 at this point. And baseball only has 6. I mean, hockey's got 16 as well. Baseball only has 3 division winners. Well, not 6 to 8. 3 division winners, and then you have the 2 wild cards. But you immediately cut one of those wild card teams, right? With the wild card games, 1 game they're out. So it's very exclusive to the playoffs work. The Phillies' problem is depth. They're starting pitching. They like their 1, 2, 3 of Nola, Wheeler, and Eflin, and they should. Yeah. The problem is, the Nationals, a good example is 2019. Your 4 and 5 guys have to be consistent. I mean, the Nats had Anibal Sanchez as their 4 in 2019. They went on a stretch of games where I think it was like 16 straight where he pitched and they didn't lose. It didn't necessarily mean he got the win, but whenever he pitched, they won. So they've got to get that from guys like Chase Anderson and Matt Moore, who are not necessarily guys that we trust at this point in time, right? So
Yeah.
that's a big key for them. And then also lineup depth too. You know, when guys get banged up or injured, somebody goes down. You know how they're going to do. Gene Segura has been awesome. I love Gene Segura, but this team was not. You know, they weren't built around Gene Segura, right? So they got to make sure guys like McCutcheon can get hot and stay hot. They got to get guys like Real Muto going. They got, you know, Bryce has been fantastic so far.
Yeah,
Hoskins, I think Hoskins has struggled some, if not. Yeah. So it's all about consistency. Like you really just need those guys to be consistent, good hitters, especially once you really get into the dog days. You know, when this thing really gets difficult and then you're in August and you're playing a lot of games. You know, you got to bring it every single day at that point of the season. The Phillies have done a great job coming out of the gate, except against teams named the New York Mets. But I think they're doing a really good job. You know, and I think they're being contending for a playoff spot. I don't think they get it.
Yeah. Speaking of like a battle, this upcoming series against Toronto is going to be a big series for them, and I think the pitching matchups is one big thing about the series. I think Steven Matz is going tonight against I forget who the Phillies have.
It should be getting Nola on the mound pretty soon, right? Because I think he pitched that Sunday night, so it's either he's pitching
tonight.
Tomorrow
Tonight
night,
is Vince Velasquez.
Yeah, Vince Velasquez, right? So Velasquez and Steven Matz.
Yeah,
I mean, Toronto's been playing well.
To go.
Yeah, Vince Velasquez to go. Look, you know, Toronto's been playing a really good ball. They're a really good baseball team. They're young, they're energetic. They've got a lot of star talent on their team. It's a lineup that you really have to be mindful when you go through the lineup. They have a lot of guys that can hurt you in a variety of ways. Whether it be, you know, Grichuk is surprising, Vladimir Guerrero with the power, Marcus Semien is just a balanced hitter as well, and not to mention guys like Bo Bichette and Lourdes Gurriel. You just got a lot of guys that hurt you in a lot of ways. So the Phillies, and also the Phillies too. Here's the thing: they've been bad away from home. That's one thing they have to clean up. They took 2 or 3 from the Nats. That's good, but they've not been a good road team so far this year. So big opportunity here against a really difficult opponent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, Alex, I think we have 2 more questions.
So sticking with the Phillies, I wanted your takes on Joe Girardi.
I think he's done an okay job. You know, I spoke with Dan Wilson, the Locked On Phillies podcast host, and you know he's probably a better authority on this than I am. But he's done a fine job. You know, I think they came out hot out of the gates, and they're playing pretty decent baseball, all things considered so far. So I think his bullpen management has been iffy, but that's not a great bullpen still. I mean, well, I don't know about you guys, but like I don't always. I mean, if I'm the opposing team, I actually feel pretty confident with Hector Neris going on the mound, and then Alvarado throws gas. But he's a good example of what we've seen a lot in baseball. Ken Rosenthal had an article the other day about how guys are throwing faster, but they've lacked a lot of control. Alvarado is a prime example of that. Hector Neris, you know, it comes down to like, do you trust those guys like Alvarado and Neris in the back end? And what else do you have in the back end? Because that's really what it comes down to, that spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then I think the last question was about the Toronto series, and I think we already touched that. I think so. I think that's all for today. Thanks, Josh, for coming on, and this has been the Broad Street Phanatics podcast.